All right, today we're jumping into a concept that's, at the very heart of all science, but it's one we don't talk about nearly enough: the art of abstraction. We're going to look at how scientists use this incredible tool to find simple, beautiful order in what looks like a totally chaotic world. So yeah, let's get into it. So it really all boils down to this one huge question. I mean, just look around you. The world is messy, it's complicated. Every single thing that happens is technically unique. So how in the world do you build universal laws and theories out of that? How do you possibly find the signal in all of that noise?
Well, to even begin to answer that, we first have to really wrap our heads around the scale of the problem. Before a scientist can even start to build a theory, they have to face this just sheer, overwhelming complexity of reality itself.
There's a fantastic term for this. It's called the entropy of experience. And think about what that means. It's this constant, chaotic flood of information hitting you. Every sight, every sound, every measurement you could possibly take is a tiny bit different from the last. It's an infinite river of unique moments, and trying to process all of that at once, it's just impossible.
Okay, so if reality is this crazy flood of data, what's the solution? This is where it gets really, really cool. The answer isn't to try and get more information. It's actually to master the art of ignoring it.
Yeah, you heard that right. The key to understanding isn't adding more stuff to the pile. It's about skillfully and very purposefully taking it away. And that whole process? That's abstraction. It's the disciplined act of deciding what details just don't matter so you can laser focus on what truly does.
And this comparison here is everything. On one hand, you've got messy reality. It's totally unpredictable, with a billion different variables flying around. But on the other hand, you have the idealized model that we create through abstraction. By isolating just the key variables and simplifying the whole system, we trade all that overwhelming detail for something priceless: predictability.
And you've seen these kinds of models everywhere in science, probably without even thinking about it. When a physicist talks about a frictionless surface, does a truly perfectly frictionless surface exist anywhere in our universe? No way, of course not. But by pretending friction doesn't exist for a moment, they can isolate the pure, fundamental laws of motion. It's the same thing with the perfectly rational actor in economics. It's an ideal, a simplification that helps build the entire foundation of their theories.
So here's the point you've got to remember. Abstraction isn't just, passively simplifying things. No, it's an active, intentional shaping of reality. It's like you're building a cleaner, simpler version of the world inside your theory, just so you can finally see the core principles that are actually running the show.
So where does all this ignoring and simplifying get us? Well, this is where we see the incredibly powerful and kind of counterintuitive result of cutting out the noise. We're about to flip what you probably think the word abstract actually means on its head.
I think for most of us, when we hear the word abstract, we immediately think vague, right? Or fuzzy, unclear. But in science, it is the complete opposite. Abstraction is the #1 tool scientists use to get to this incredible razor-sharp precision. By stripping away all that messy entropy of experience, they can finally focus on what can actually be measured and tested.
And this brings us to this really fascinating idea, the interval of abstraction. See, science knows that getting a single, absolutely perfect data point is pretty much impossible. So instead, it defines an acceptable range, a margin of error. And by embracing this tiny little window of uncertainty, it achieves this incredibly powerful kind of knowledge, what some philosophers call gnoseological precision. It's a way of being precise by admitting what your limits are. Pretty clever, huh?
But wait, it goes even deeper than that. Abstraction isn't just a tool for analyzing the world as it is. It's the tool we use to create the very concepts we think with in the first place. It's almost like a piece of technology for our own minds.
The source material calls it the technology of birth for ideas, and I just love that phrase. Think about it. Every single general concept you have in your head, from something simple like chair to something huge like justice or gravity, every one of them is born from this exact process. So here's how it works, right? It's an active creation of sameness. First, you observe a bunch of unique things. Let's say a Granny Smith apple, a Red Delicious, a Fuji. They're all different. Step 2, you identify a few core properties they all share. And step 3, this is the magic part, you actively ignore all the other differences. The specific color, the size, the exact taste. And bam, step 4, you form a new abstract concept, apple. You've literally created a category out of thin air that didn't exist before. The brilliant thinker Henri Poincaré had a name for this: the discontinuity jump. It's this profound cognitive leap that we all make, all the time, jumping from the continuous, messy flow of real life to the clean, separate, powerful concepts inside our heads. It's the jump from raw experience to an actual idea.
And as you can probably guess, a tool this powerful, this fundamental, brings up some really deep philosophical questions about what knowledge even is. We're basically getting into the business of thinking about thinking.
And this all leads to a really fascinating debate. So on one side, you have a philosophy called intuitionism. This view says that our ideas have to be tied to the real world. Their motto is basically, from is to is known. We can only really know what we can observe. But then, on the other side, you have constructivism, which argues that truths, especially in something like math, aren't just out there waiting to be discovered. Nope, they are built by the human mind. So the ultimate question is, are we finding these truths, or are we inventing them?
But you know, whichever side of that debate you land on, the big takeaway is the same. Abstraction is not about being vague. It is a disciplined, incredibly powerful art of thought. It's the fundamental engine that allows us to turn the overwhelming chaos of reality into structured, useful knowledge.
And that leaves us with one final thought to carry with you. This tool isn't just for scientists in a lab. We all use it every single day. So the question for you is, what's the distracting noise in your own world? In your work, in your life, in some problem you're trying to crack? What could you choose to ignore right now in order to see something essential and completely new?